What's going on, Dolphins? It is your boy Dillon, and I'm back with you for my Dolphins at Texans preview for tomorrow's game. Before I get into all the stats and the breakdown and preview and so on and so forth, there's a couple things I want to talk about, including injury reports and stuff. So first of all, it looks like that Albert Wilson is going to be going on to IR. That has been confirmed. There was one report I saw that said that if we are still in the playoff hunt, if we make it to the playoffs, he could come back. But I don't know that that's the case because we are bringing Jake Brendel and Mike Hull back from IR. And as far as I know, you can only bring two guys back in a season. But I don't know. I'll have to check up on that because I also kind of think there may be something else like towards the end of the season, like another opportunity you can bring guys back if you're going into like the playoffs and stuff. Anyway, point is though, he is going on IR. Jake Brendel and Mike Hull will be coming off IR to rejoin the team. They have promoted Leonte Carroo from the practice squad. So now he's been moved up. So, in this game, I mean, Kenny Stills is going to be out. So for us, they've ruled out Kenny Stills, Charles Harris, Ryan Tannehill. Albert Wilson's obviously not going to be there. So, I mean, for the most part, we're pretty healthy at this point, even though we just lost one of our biggest playmakers. But these other wide receivers got to step up. I mean, Danny Amendola is good. Jakeem Grant's good. Kenny Stills has got his groin injury. Hopefully it won't take too long for him to get back. But, we need... I mean, look, there's that whole dispute thing with Devontae Parker. Devontae Parker actually came out, I don't remember if I told you this yet, but he actually came out and said that he disagrees with the comments that his agent made and that he wants to stay in Miami and so on and so forth, that he's healthy, he's ready to contribute. Well, he's not going to have a choice. He's got to in this game. And the thing is I still hold on to a little bit of hope that he can get it right and he can be what we need him to be. But like, this is the game, man. If he's gonna do it, he's got to do it this game. He's got to battle for that ball. He's got to be a big time contributor because we need him. And if that's true, if he doesn't agree with the things that his agent said, and if he really does want to be in Miami and stuff like that, this would be the perfect time for him to have a breakout game, to go into Houston and smash on the Texans, and especially because they have a pretty good defense, particularly up front in their front seven. That's where it's at. I'll get into that in a minute, but anyway, I mean, this would be the game to do it. If he wants to show Miami, if he wants to show all the fans and everybody, this would be the time. So step up because we need him. We absolutely need him. We're super short-handed. Injuries have just been absolutely crazy this whole year. We've put a ton of guys on IR, a lot of key contributors, and it's just been rough. But anyway, so real quick, let me go ahead and tell you. So I've told you who's been ruled out for us. Let me tell you, they actually have quite a few people ruled out for them. Cornerback Aaron Colvin, wide receiver Kiki Coty, center guard Zach Fulton, tight end Ryan Griffin, safety Andre Howell, that's a pretty big one, inside linebacker Brian Peters, that's pretty significant, and cornerback Sharice Wright, pretty significant as well. So in their back end, mostly it looks like they will be hurting in particular, but they still have Whitney Merciless and Jadeveon Clowney and of course JJ Watt. So they definitely have a strong front seven, but if the offensive line can play well and defend Brock Osweiler and open up running lanes, then and if the receivers can do big things, man, I mean, we need them to. So if the receivers can do big things, if Parker can do some good stuff for us, and Jakeem Grant and Danny Amendola, if they can do some things for us, then we stand a chance in this game. I definitely don't think we're out of this. I don't think the season's over. I still think there are plenty of winnable games. And I think this is one. Last week it was mostly, I mean, last week injuries were the big thing, and the penalties we didn't have that many, but they definitely killed us at crucial times. And then, I will say that the defense probably played one of its worst games of the season. But unfortunately, that's the problem is that you see that happen when, the offense isn't quite living up to their end of it. The defense gets worn out, especially considering we've had tons of injuries, but I am going to expect that the defense is going to bounce back. They definitely have an opportunity here against, a Texans offense that's trending in the right direction, but certainly does not have they're not super explosive. They're not gonna, they're not guaranteed to just run all over everybody. And you'll see when I get into some of these statistics, we'll play to that point a little more as well. So, there's definitely going to be some opportunities. Our defense is going to have to play well. They're going to have to definitely tighten up on the run defense. Last week was just terrible. They need to be more stout for sure in that. I think having, getting Bobby McCain his second game back, that will help. They need to tighten up for sure, but I think they have some good opportunities here. And I think the defense is going to have a bounce back game. I think this is going to ultimately be a low scoring game. I'll get to the prediction at the end. But, and then, our offense, man, there's going to be guys that have to step up. Like I said, Devontae Parker and even maybe Leonte Carew, Mike Gesicki, and Nick O'Leary got to do some things, right? So, and the running backs got to be ready. So, there's opportunities for sure, and this is definitely not a game. It's going to be tough. We obviously had to travel. They, we're playing in their stadium. They do have a really good defense and an offense that's trending in the right direction. But it's not, there's definitely hope, and there's definitely room for some optimism. So let me go ahead and get into some of these. Let me first get into the league standings. As of right now, offensively, for points per game, we have 21.6 points per game, which is 24th in the league. Houston is only 22.1, which is 21st. Yards per game, we have 329.1, which is 27th. They are at 372.1, which is 16th. Passing yards, we have 222.3, which is 25th. And they're at 258.4, which is 16th. Real quick, before I go on, I just want also, for people to be clear. If you notice, there's not a huge discrepancy like passing yards per game. We're at 222.3 and they're at 258.4, right? So that's not huge. That's only, 36.1 yards per game, or right? So, but we're 25th and they're 16th. So my point in that is that if we can get some, if we can stop getting hurt so fucking much, first of all, but if we can stop getting hurt, and then, if this team can settle out, they can definitely pick it up, and they can move up the standings, they can tighten up, they can get better. Like I said, the season's not over. There's definitely still a lot of room for growth and optimism and hope and stuff like that. So, there's still time. There's still time. We definitely got to have a strong game, though, tomorrow, for sure, without question. Anyway, rushing yards per game, we are at 106.9, which is 18th, and they are at 113.7, which is 15th. Defensively, points allowed per game, we're at 25.3, which is 19th. They are at 20.6, which is 8th. Yards allowed, 405.3. We have 405.3, which is 27th. They are 329.9, which is 9th. Passing yards allowed, 268.6 for us, which is 23rd. 237.7 for them, which is 12th. And rushing yards allowed, per game, we have 136.7, which is 29th, and they have 92.1, which is 8th. Which, like I said, last game is what killed us really on that, because we let up a ton of rushing yards. But anyway, so like I said, though, they do have a really good defense, but they are going to be missing some guys, particularly it looks like on their back end. So ironically, one of the weakest parts of our offense now is our receiving core, yet that would be the place where we could potentially, hurt their defense. So if the if the offensive line can protect, long enough, and Brock Osweiler can get some, quick passes, whatever, if he can get some play action off of, the running game obviously needs to be efficient, right? Which they've been getting better at the past few weeks. So if the running game can be efficient, we can get some play action, some quick passes and stuff like that. There is potential for our receiving core to match up pretty well against their defense and do some things. So I think we're going to win this game, damn it. We're gonna bounce back, man. We're gonna do it, and we're gonna take this victory. We're gonna go back home, and then we're gonna beat the Jets at home. But anyway, so getting back to it, one game at a time. For comparisons for the last game, for each of our last game, in our last game we had 322 total yards. They had 272. We had 215 passing yards. They had 131. We had 107 rushing yards. They had 141. We had 6 yards per play. They were only at 4.4. Neither team lost a fumble or threw an interception. We were 54% on third downs, which is great. They were at 50%. And time of possession, we had the ball 26 minutes, 21 seconds. They had it 29 minutes, 35 seconds. And penalty-wise, we had 4, they had 6. So real quick, just getting into that a little bit. So both teams were good protecting the football, good on third downs, and didn't really even and held the ball, under half the game, and only commit, a small amount of penalties, right? But if you look at it though, our offense was definitely more productive. We had more, overall yardage, passing yardage. They did have a little bit more run yardage than us. And then we were, 1.6 yards per play better than them. So there is, like I said, there is going to be some opportunities. They do have a tough defense, but there is going to be some opportunities. But in particular, though, that shows that, our defense, if they can tighten up, if they can stop the run, then start getting some pressure on Deshaun Watson, which from my knowledge, from the reports I've seen, he's pretty banged up, actually. So, if we can get some pressure and some hits on him, we can start rattling him, shake him and stuff like that. So there's going to be opportunities for the defense to shut them down a bit. Getting into passing statistics, Brock Osweiler was 22 for 31, 71% completion percentage, 239 yards, 2 touchdowns, 0 interceptions, and a 114.9 passer rating. He did really good for a second week in a row. He is commanding this huddle and this offense. He's doing well, and hopefully he can continue that again this week. So far for the season, he's at 67.5% completion percentage, 654 yards, 6 touchdowns, 2 interceptions, and a 107 passer rating. So obviously we're only comparing 2 games for Brock versus Deshaun Watson's 6 or whatever it is. But for his 2 games, he is overall better than Deshaun Watson. Take that for what you will. Obviously it's a smaller sample size, but thus far he has performed, better than Deshaun Watson has in his 6 games. That doesn't really necessarily mean anything. I'm just pointing that out. So Deshaun Watson last game was 12 for 24, 50% completion percentage for only 139 yards, 1 touchdown, and an 81.8 passer rating. His stats on the season are 63.1 completion percentage, 1,937 yards, 10 touchdowns with 7 interceptions, and an 89.9 passer rating. So he has thrown quite a few interceptions and not that many touchdowns. So like I said, the defense has opportunities here in particular, I think. And I think it's going to end up being a defensive game mostly. I think it'll end up coming down to which offense can do a little bit more than the other. But for the most part, I think it's going to be a defensive game, and why I think it's going to be low scoring. Rushing leaders for us, Kenyon Drake led the way last week, 6 rushes for 72 yards, 1 touchdown, 12 average, and then Frank Gore had 10 rushes for 29 yards and a 2.9 average. Lamar Miller led the way for them, 22 rushes for 100 yards, 1 touchdown, but only a 4.5 average, so not totally great, alright, decent. But their run game was good last week, overall anyway, so that doesn't matter so much. Alfred Blue then came up with 8 rushes for 28 yards and a 3.5 average, and then Deshaun Watson had 7 for 13 yards and 1.9 average. That's one thing we definitely got to make sure we keep him contained, because he can run, he can break out of the pocket. Receiving leaders, Danny Amendola led the way for us, 6 of 7 for 84 yards and a touchdown. Mike Gesicki was 3 for 3, 44 yards. Albert Wilson, before he got hurt, was 3 for 3, 32 yards. Jakeem Grant was 2 for 2, 32 yards. Nick O'Leary, 2 for 3, 23 yards. Kenyon Drake, 4 for 8, 15 yards. Kenny Stills, 1 for 3, 5 yards and a touchdown before he got hurt. For them, Will Fuller led the way, 6 of 8 for 68 yards. DeAndre Hopkins, 3 for 8, 50 yards and a touchdown. Tyler Ervin, 1 for 1, 19 yards. And that's really it for their receivers. They don't really have a whole lot. It's, you know, so I really do think it's going to be a defensive game and, you know, low scoring and stuff. So getting into defensive statistics, like I said, this was definitely one of our worst defensive games. I do expect they are going to bounce back. You know, having Cam Wake and Bobby McCain back in there, you know, this will be their second game now back from their injuries, so it'll improve, it'll get better. But we only had 1 sack, no tackles for loss, 2 forced fumbles, no fumble recoveries, 1 interception, and 2 passes defensed. They had a pretty solid game, 4 sacks, 4 tackles for loss, 3 forced fumbles, 2 recovered, 1 interception, and 4 passes defensed. So, there you have it. And as I've been saying throughout this video, it's going to be a defensive game. I think it seems that way. And it's just going to be, you know, which offense. It's either going to be which offense can, you know, outscore the other offense. So whichever one does a little bit better, or which, you know, defense can score. You know, so if one defense scores a touchdown while the other one doesn't, then that, you know, that could be the edge. Of course, it also could, you know, come down to special teams, you know, field placement and you know, stuff like that. So we'll see, but I do think it's going to be a pretty defensive game, and it's going to be low scoring. I think I am going to predict a Dolphins victory. I'm going to predict 21-20. So yeah, we'll see. I mean, tomorrow night's the game, obviously. I'm really excited. I can't wait. It's a Thursday night game. So let's get excited, guys. I know the season's been rough. I know we've been getting hurt a lot. I know it's not exactly panned out quite like we've, you know, wanted it to. But like I said, it's not over. We got to stay behind our team. We got to get their backs. We got to, you know, we got to keep pushing. And we got to move on just like they do. So, you know, let's go out there. Let's cheer and root for, you know, a good bounce back game where, you know, the defense plays well again, shuts down the run, and the offense moves the ball and puts up some points. We'll come away with that W, and everything will be, you know, back to bright, you know, sunny and beautiful going into, you know, this long week of rest for the guys before they have to come out on, you know, a week from Sunday to play the Jets at home, which is a super winnable game. We definitely need to win that game for sure too, of course, because that's going to be a divisional and conference game, so that's going to be huge. But hey, let's get this W. Let's get to 5-3. Let's keep pace with the Patriots, and then we'll get that win against the Jets to make it 6-3. We'll keep fighting them for it. We're not giving up. This team is a team. They fight for each other. They love each other, and I think that they're going to keep scrapping, keep fighting throughout the entire season. And I think they're going to secure this W. So with that, guys, I am out. I will see y'all soon. But, of course, if you like my videos, make sure you hit the subscribe button. Make sure you hit the the bell if you want the alerts. Leave your questions, comments, and concerns in the comment section. I love interacting with you guys. Hit the like button. Also, follow me on Twitter. My Twitter handle is on the end screen. It's at Dillon Tartaro. So follow me there. I do some tweeting and do a little bit. I'm not crazy with it, but I do a little bit, particularly during the games and stuff like that. I tweet out stats and stuff too. So anyway, follow me on Twitter. And with that, guys, I am out. I'll see y'all soon. Fins up.